Hey guys, welcome back to Minafest. It's me, Mina, and today we're going to be talking about brutal life lessons that I learned last year that you can take with you into 2025. These lessons cost me a lot of money, a lot of heartbreak, a lot of time, and I'm going to give them to you for the low price of hitting the subscribe button. Let's get into it. So first things first, I could sum up my entire 2024 with one overarching lesson, which is don't ignore the red flags. I know we've all heard that before, right? So let me tell you what I mean. Whether it's in your romantic relationship, your job, your friendships, your spidey senses start to tingle and go off, and you have these thoughts that come up when you interact with people throughout your life. A lot of us have a habit of second guessing ourselves, and especially if you're a very compassionate person, you can lead with that empathy and that understanding for other people. And while that's a great trait to have, you want to learn how to harness that and apply it gradually over time while taking in all the information that you can to justify how much compassion and understanding you should be offering. Personally, in 2024, I was so understanding, and I was in a mindset where whenever a challenge would arise, I would first look at myself. And I used to think that was my strength. I used to think, I'm really reflective, and I really take the time to make sure that I'm doing my best before I point the finger at anybody. That actually backfired on me last year. I could have saved myself a lot of headache if I just noticed quicker that, some things just aren't good for me. And it doesn't really matter all of the reasonings why. I don't have to do a deep dive analysis to uncover unsolved mysteries about other people. I can just accept that these little feelings that came up for me really early on are my truth. And that's something that I want to pass on to you guys this year and hopefully moving forward in your life in general. Don't ignore the red flags. When you see them, make a note of them. And once they stack up, 1, 2, 3, take them seriously. So that's my first one. Here's some examples of red flags, by the way, just in case. It could be subtle disrespect, intimidation, belittling, humiliation, disregard, a lack of empathy. All of those things that put you off when you are interacting with somebody new or somebody that's been in your life for a while. It could even be a parent or a sibling. It could be anybody. All of those little markers that come up and make you feel bad inside or make you feel uncomfortable, if they're not able to be resolved and if they start to repeat and happen over and over and over again, don't ignore the red flags. Moving on. Another major lesson for me in 2024 was that I learned for the first time really that avoidance is what fuels anxiety. So I haven't shared a ton about my entrepreneurial journey, and I think I will do that in another video later down the line. But I had a business from 2021 to 2024. And in 2024, I really had to sell most of my business and kind of close it. And that process was so jarring to me. I avoided so many things, you guys, like serious administrative things that I needed to do that I was just in a complete burnout and like burying my head under the sand. The reason that I was feeling so anxious and that my anxiety was just going up and up and up was, yes, because I had all of these real life adult kind of serious challenges that I needed to navigate for the first time, but also because I was avoiding them all. And this lesson has been life-changing for me. I naturally have that inclination to hide. When something is going wrong, when I'm making a mistake, I'm like, oh my God, I don't want to be seen. I want to hide. I don't want to get out of bed. I'm not going to the gym. I'm sure a lot of us do. It's pretty normal. That inclination to hide from your challenges or your problems literally compounds them. And when I tell you I learned this lesson so hard last year, I am still paying for it in some ways today. And that's okay. Life is a journey. But if there's any area of your life where you're feeling overwhelmed, I want to encourage you to do yourself the favor to make a list of the tasks that you need to do. It could be, registering your car at the DMV or light bill, like literally whatever it is that you have to do that feels overwhelming to you. For me, it's always like administrative stuff. And then if anything like related to court or like a speeding ticket, you guys, when I tell you that type of stuff sends me over the edge. I feel like I'm gonna die. I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to jail because I have a parking ticket. And it doesn't even work like that. It's an irrational fear. But getting really clear on all of those little tasks that are increasing your stress and anxiety, writing them down, making them plain, and then just taking little steps every day, even if you have to force yourself. Please, please, please don't avoid anything. Also, being able to determine a task from a project. There are some things that are really easy, like checking your mail as a task. There's other things like applying for jobs. That's a project. It's going to take multiple steps. You're not going to be able to do the whole thing in one day. So really breaking all of those things down and labeling what's a task and what's a project, and taking little actions and steps every single day so that you don't increase your own anxiety through avoidance. Please listen to me, okay? Next, I'm just going to admit it. My 2024 was a mess. There were some highs career-wise. I did some really cool stuff, but overall, the year was wild. And when I'm going through a lot of stuff, sometimes I just lose track of time. I lose track of dates. So number 3 on our list is going to be, it's the thought that counts. I cannot tell you how many birthdays and like special events that I just completely missed and didn't even remember that I missed them until like months later. But it's the thought that counts, you guys. And sometimes when we have our own stuff going on, even if it's positive things happening in your life, you can get a little self-absorbed. So I just want to remind you guys that for this year, to take the little extra steps necessary to make sure that you're showing up for the people in your life the best that you can. Whether it's sending them a text message or a phone call. I'm getting better about putting people's birthdays in my calendar, because if something doesn't remind me, I'm not just going to remember on the day that it's somebody's birthday. Even my own like parents, I have complete time blindness and day blindness. I never know what date it is. Like, I'm doing my best, okay? Don't lose all your friends and have all your family being mad at you. Just remember their birthdays. If you forget their birthdays, send them a card. You're not going to hit 10 out of 10 all the time, but make the little efforts that you can to connect with the people that are important to you and keep your bonds up. In this day and age, we're really losing our sense of community, and it's really important. It's something that we're not going to even realize how vital it is until we lose it completely in society, and it's something that's really slipping away. So make a little bit of effort to let people know that they're important to you. Okay, I could have put this one as number 1, but number 1 remains don't ignore the red flags. But number 1A or number 4 is that boundaries are your best friend. There's so much content on boundaries online, and I feel like it's one of those things that's becoming a little bit overused, and people tend to think of boundaries as like rules, like you're not allowed to do this or don't do that, or like an outward kind of enforcement thing. And I have really grown in my understanding of boundaries to realize that they're the limits that I set within myself. And what I want to share with you guys is, if you're struggling with anyone in your life that kind of oversteps or says things that makes you uncomfortable or is hurtful towards you, your boundaries can be things like how much time you spend with them, how available you are to them emotionally. You can set those boundaries within yourself. And I think the nice thing about viewing boundaries as more of like an inward choice versus like an outward rule that you're enforcing on someone else is that you don't really have to have a lot of conflict about it. A lot of times when you do set those boundaries more energetically, people will pick up on them. So I say all that to say, when you are thinking about the people in your life that you feel you would like to be more boundaried with, think about how much you overshare, how much do you overcommit. So many of those things you have the control over within yourself. And it's so much more empowering to look at boundaries that way versus telling people a list of things they can and cannot do. I just feel like it's very time consuming and draining to try to control other people's actions or behaviors. It's easier for me to master like myself and what I allow. And then once I have reached my limit of what I allow, it is what it is. I gotta go. Talk to you later. Bye. So that's my take on boundaries. I'm reading off my iPad, so just bear with me, guys. So I've talked about it quite a bit, and I had a very jarring last year. Something that I've had to learn to incorporate really for the first time in my life is being gentle towards myself. If you're new here, I'm Mina Fest, and I am a perfectionist. Being gentle with myself really started when I moved. I moved in August from LA to Texas. I picked up my whole life and I drove here with my cat, and it was such an abrupt choice that I didn't have a lot of time to contend with it or plan it. Like I really just was like, you know what? I got to get out of here. Let me go to Texas and hang out with my family. And it felt like I had kind of given up on certain things that I was really invested in back home in LA. My decision to be really gentle with myself has been paramount to getting through this time. I've been able to be more creative than I have been in years with things like starting this YouTube channel. I've really been making time to be in a state of like silly joyfulness as often as I can. And that combined with like prayer and sleep has been so good, like such a heavy hitter, you don't even know. No matter what curveballs life throws at you this year, next year, and 10 years, I hope that you can save this video, come back to it, and just remember to be gentle with yourself. You don't have to have everything figured out by a certain age or a certain time. You're not too old for anything. It is so hard in your 20s, especially if you're in like your later 20s or your early 30s, and you're seeing your friends kind of reach their potentials, like their lives are starting to click into place. I have really had to let go of comparing my timeline to other people's. Like my timeline is mine and it's happening for all the right reasons. So be gentle on yourself. Whatever happens this year, whether it's good or bad, take it in stride and don't beat yourself up and don't get down on yourself either. Please stay encouraged and just continue to show up for yourself. Do your best. Don't avoid the things that are giving you anxiety because it will literally make it worse. Call your mom, send your friends happy birthday text messages, and don't ignore the red flags, and you'll be okay. So those are my brutal life lessons for 2025. Hopefully we can do this every year, but that's all for now. Bye guys.